Hi, welcome back to the Beauty Authority. I'm Tatiana Bido, Director of Aesthetic Content at New Beauty. And I have to say, I am especially excited about today's guest because she's truly a pioneer in aesthetic medicine. Joining us is Dr. Jean Carruthers, aesthetic expert and ophthalmologist who helped change the course of aesthetics through her discovery of Botox cosmetic. Hi, Dr. Carruthers. How are you?
Hi, Tatiana. Very well. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us today. And I can't think of talking about the future of aesthetics without going back to the past. So I'd love if you could retell for our viewers what that moment was like and what that time period was like when you were one of the first to discover Botox's cosmetic use. And that really has, changed all of our lives, I think.
Mm. Yes, I think it's changed our lives for the better, actually. In those days, though, which was in the 80s, cosmetic treatments were thought about as full of stigma. Why would you do that? That's really only for Elizabeth Taylor. And the rest of us are normal people, and we don't do that. So it was an uphill battle because when my patient got angry at me and said, she was one of my blepharospasm patients, said, "You didn't treat me here," pointing at her medial brows. I apologized to her and said, "I'm so sorry. I didn't think you were spasming there." And she said, "I know I wasn't spasming there, but every time you treat me there, I get this beautiful, untroubled expression." So that was the aha moment. And then going from that to a study, a scientific study, it took Alistair and me 4 years to get 18 patients into the study. And kudos to all those patients for their guts in allowing me to do this. And you might say, well, how is it they trusted you that much? And it was very simple. I got Alistair to treat me. So I would show them the picture with my frown lines. And then I would sweep my bangs back and say, "What do you think?" And they'd say, "Oh, do it."
Of course. And what was that like? I have to imagine it was so difficult to get those 18 people to say yes at first, because when you first hear about it, you hear that it's a toxin or a poison. So what was that like?
That is exactly how it was, because 'cause they're very intelligent, well-informed people. So the thing was, I had to show them that it was quite okay. I was still healthy, uh, after doing the treatment, because that's the thing. Anything can be a poison if you give people enough of it.
Right.
It's knowing what you're doing with it that makes the difference. And so they could see that here I was perfectly healthy and minus those frown lines that were in my photograph. So they were like, okay, I want that too.
Yeah.
And, that's how it worked out. So the question of getting people to change their minds and have what they did consider to be a poison to accept it as being a drug is nothing short of miraculous. And the
Mhm.
only way it happens is by doing it to yourself.
Yeah. Tri trial and error, right? Or trial and
Hmm.
success, I guess.
Well, showing that you trust the process that you're suggesting for them and enough to do it on yourself. I think that's the bottom line. People will do things that other people do. They won't do things that other people tell them to do.
So interesting, right?
Mhm.
You and I spoke I want to say it was about a year ago at a conference, and you described how Botox has been shown to affect the brain, or at least the pain systems of our brain. So can you
Mhm.
go into that a little bit more and what it can do to help with our mood?
Yeah, I think that's the next stage with the neuromodulators is part of 360-degree wellness. And so if you want to know where I first became aware of this, it was the work of Dr. Eric Finzi, whose mother apparently, from his book, his mother was depressed. And so when he was a dermatologist, he treated I think he treated 9 or 10 women who were depressed. And he did all the scientific evaluations of their mood. before the treatment and then after the Botox was working. And 9 out of 10 of the women had a dramatic improvement in their mood. And other studies since then have followed on with more prospective randomized studies of treatment of depression, and also self-esteem, social anxiety disorder. All of these things are very important in how we feel about our day and how we interact. That changes how we interact with everyone in our lives. So it's a really huge thing because looking good and feeling good really make you do better in your world.
I agree. I really agree. And now we are entering this era where we've in the past have had one, two, three, four options in the neurotoxin market, but now we're seeing more options coming out. We have Latina coming, it's the K Beauty neurotoxin. We have a new toxin coming out from Galderma. I might say it wrong. Is it Relfitis?
That's right.
Yeah.
Relfidec. Yes.
And then we have Trentibot. Can you say that one? I'm
Oh,
gonna
yes.
butcher
I
it.
know. I know. It's a really long name for a really short-acting molecule.
Yes.
It's trinibotulinum toxin A, and
Thank
it's botulinum toxin E. It's a different one from the A's that we've had approved already.
So what should we know about these? I mean, this is exciting, right? So we've had since, the late 80s, early 90s, just a handful of options rolling out. And now we're seeing so many more options. What should people know about the next era of neurotoxins?
I think they need to know what brand they are, if you will, of botulinum toxin. Is it an A? Is it an E? And there is also a B that is out there because they all are quite different in how they work. The A neuromodulators largely last between 3 to 6 months. The B lasts probably 6 weeks and is very painful. The E lasts probably 2 weeks.
Hmm.
So that's a very interesting. Why on earth would you want one that lasts only 2 weeks? Wouldn't you like to have one that lasts longer? And I think that the thing is, it's like there are different situations. For example, if you were um, if you were not sure that you wanted to have a treatment that might last 3 to 6 months, maybe you'd use the E as an introductory treatment because it's only going to last 2 weeks.
Right.
That kind of thing. So I think there's also knowledge about um, there are different kinds of A's, the Xeamin that has no complexing proteins. This is also true of the Relfides, has no complexing proteins. And the reason that's important is that there is a possibility, particularly in some people who actually have Eastern Mediterranean and Central Asian ancestry, of getting allergic. Well, they're not going to say allergic, about getting immune
Right.
to the neuromodulator.
So they're more resistant maybe to its effects.
It works for them initially, and then there's an immune reaction to the neuromodulators so that it doesn't work at all. And so that's something where there's uh, different polymorphisms on our HLA system. And it's those people who tend to have more of a chance. It's very rare. It's less than a half of 1%. But if that's you,
Yeah.
then, it doesn't work for you.
One thing we're seeing a lot of right now is regenerative aesthetics really
Mhm.
mainstream and looking at the types of treatments that help you stimulate collagen naturally. What are you seeing in the industry? Is there anything that's exciting you in that category?
Oh, I think there's a lot of really exciting things. One of the things I find exciting is a company in Toronto called Acorn, and they actually produce stem cells from your very own hair, stem cells. They grow them in tissue culture and produce your very own secretosomes. So
Mhm.
it's your product. It's going to stimulate your hair growth and your rejuvenated skin, which I think is really, really clever. I think We've just been doing a research project with it and very impressive. I think also there's a lot of um, new products that are stimulating collagen, and I want to say elastin as well. We mustn't forget elastin.
Right.
That's the product that gives us the youthful skin. The collagen is like the leather in our skin. It gives us the strength. And so I agree with you. As we age, our skin thins, and a lot of it is due to the sun. Like 90% is due to sun. So in from Real Self, we know that 12.5% of North Americans are using sunscreen every day versus 68% using anti-aging creams,
Mm,
thus rather missing the boat
right.
that the sun protection is so important.
Yeah, we should be doing it, the other way around or at least more equally, right? More balanced.
Mhm. Yeah, I think so. There's so many products that you can now inject or rub on that stimulate collagen and elastin, and I think the research is starting to catch up with the marketing.
Are there any innovations outside of regenerative medicine that are really exciting you right now in the field?
I think that there's been a real scientific breakthrough in the quality of hyaluronic acid fillers.
Mm,
We know that short chain hyaluronic acids are very pro-inflammatory and those fillers tend to give lumps more than fillers that don't have the short chains. So there's some relatively new neuromodulators, I'm sorry, fillers out that have uh, long chains and slightly less long chains, which are very not inflammatory. So I think that's really good. I think the other thing that's really helpful is that there's been such a spate of overdone injections that
mhm.
I think on the internet you just look and think, oh my goodness. And I think that there was some conversations in late 2025 that there was filler fatigue, but I
Right.
think it was overdone filler fatigue. I think the aesthetic world was saying, well, that's just not a natural look.
Yeah, I think right now we're definitely in an era where everyone wants to look just like a much better version of themselves and very
Yeah.
natural rather than augmented. So, I think that's why regenerative and longevity and aesthetics and wellness all together are having this, moment of
Oh,
synergy.
it's huge. And then that stimulates people to do the other things, like go to the gym. There's a published paper in The Lancet in January. I think they looked at 60,000 people over a number of years, over 7 or 8 years. They monitored their exercise, their sleep, what they ate, everything about their stress management. And the people who did a good job of eating a sensible diet, of exercising and sleeping, had 9 more years of excellent life rather than just plain old lifespan. It was health span. That's
Right.
9 years for just very simple adjustments to your basic what you do in the day. And that's without the cosmetic treatments, which are the icing on the cake. I think it's just so amazing that you can really improve what you're doing just by being mindful of what's good for you.
Absolutely, and it's not just about living longer, it's about living better, and that's where I think everyone's mind is at right now, and we this is a time where I think we need it the most, right?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Well, fine. Thank you so much for coming and speaking with New Beauty. Finally, my last question, what do you hope that your legacy in aesthetic medicine will be? I have an idea, but I would just love to hear from you, what you would love, to be remembered for.
Oh, thank you very much for asking. Well, I would love to see that science is still respected as the most um, believable way that you can evaluate new treatments. That would be wonderful to have that.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Carruthers. This has been a real treat, and I can't wait to see you at the next conference and have another wonderful conversation. You're always enlightening us so much and sharing your insights. So, thank you again.
Thank you so much, Tatiana. It's an honor to be on your show.
Thank you.